Pancake day.
I don't.
I'm the tosser in this story. Come on, it's inevitable.
Oh dear.
Oh, everyone loves wibbly wobbly bumbly Boris Johnson, don't they? Bubbly blonde mop bojo, the affable chubby toddler with the tousled hair and the bumbling posh boy charm. What a card he is! What a blustery, bustling little bugger! What a quintessentially British character! No, he's an absolute prick. I've been saying it for fucking years, nobody listened to me, and now we've got the cunt as foreign fucking secretary. I hope you're happy, England. Yes, foreign fucking secretary. Having been humiliated by the ongoing Brexit debacle, having been shamed by the fucking galactic level embarrassment of Labour's uncontrollable slide into unelectable hippie Stalinism, having witnessed the final nail being driven into Britain's delusions of sporting excellence by a nation that is more glaciers than training grounds, and been mortified as the pound donned inadvisable blackface and became a rhythmless tribute act to the Zimbabwean dollar, new Prime Minister Theresa May decided the only way to further take a squatting Downing Street shit on the remaining thimbleful of British national dignity was to appoint this sweaty, albino, shuffling, fucking mumbling embarrassment as Foreign Secretary. Boris the Bumble Cunt Johnson. Of course, this shambolic mass of bipedal political cancer with a jizz-mop haircut doesn't actually want to be Foreign Secretary. Boris wants to be Prime Minister. But he failed because he's a bumbling fuck-up loser shit cunt. Before we get into the more topical aspects of Boris's unchallengeable status as a top cunt, let's take a brief look at the scandal-laden history of Boris the Bum-Tumor Johnson. Here he is in his school days, next to David Cameron and an assortment of other thieves and rapists at Eton, an exclusive Jedi training academy that long ago fell to the dark side and now prides itself on producing the galaxy's most ruthless Sith Lords. After being anointed in the blood of a local peasant child by the cowled figures at his Eton graduation ceremony, Boris then went on to Oxford University, safe in the knowledge that he had thus far appeased the endless thirsting of the dark gods who offered him their patronage. At Oxford, Boris was a member of the Bullingdon Club, again along with David Cameron, because that's the kind of way this meritocracy is run. The best way to describe the Bullingdon Club is that it's kind of like Fight Club but for trust fund babies and top hats, and everyone brings their nanny along to ensure that nobody gets hurt. The initiation ceremony for this secret society, this gay as fuck secret society, is to burn a £50 note in front of a homeless person. Remember that the next time Boris is stumbling about on a stage playing the rascally clown. Imagine being that homeless guy, sleeping on the concrete, getting woken up by a fat bitch in a well-tailored tux and top hat. Imagine looking up at Boris's sickly blanched face leering down at you, flop sweat dripping from his swollen brow and his bloated anaphylactic facial features contorting into a smug grin, over-brimming with entitlement as he ignites 10 days worth of hot meals right in front of you, and then waddles off laughing about how little it means to him as daddy's money is endless. Don't ever forget that that's who Boris Johnson is. A dreadful, dreadful prick.
Then okay, I think I was right.
Boris proceeded to get fired from every job he subsequently took, as one would expect from a dishevelled, inadequate buffoon like him. In 1988, he was sacked by the Times for fabricating a quote, proving that he's a man of remarkable consistency, as since the very start of his career, Boris has been a dishonest, untrustworthy, inept, lying sack of cock mucus.
The Times let you go after you'd made up a quote. Why did you make up a quote?
Well, this again, you know, these are big terms for what happened. Well, I can tell you the whole thing. I mean, I think are you sure our viewers wouldn't want to hear more about?
Well, all right. If you don't want to talk about the made-up quote, let me talk.
After getting understandably fired by the Times for being an utter disgrace to journalism, Boris swiftly got a new job at the Telegraph through the Old Boys network. Imagine if you were fired from Burger King because you got caught cumming in people's bacon double cheeseburgers, and then the next day you get a job in the kitchens at McDonald's because Daddy used to go fox hunting with Mayor McCheese and Ronald went to the same prep school as you. That's the kind of life Boris has led. No amount of lying or incompetence is enough to make you unemployable if you're born with a sufficient amount of silver cutlery inserted warmly into every well-lubricated orifice.
Culture.
While working at the Telegraph, Boris decided to yet again drag the once noble profession of journalism into disrepute by helping an old school chum from Eton get a fellow journalist beaten up. Boris provided the name and address of this journalist who had written an unflattering article about his scumbag friend's criminal family. But Boris is such a blundering perpetual fuck-up that the planned vicious beating never actually materialised. However, the intent remained. And Boris's betrayal of the principles of press freedom is something none of us should ever forget.
Boris, have you got this number?
Gerard, look, there is a guy at the moment going through
You're brilliant.
his files at home.
Fantastic. But I am telling you something, Boris. This guy has got my blood up, alright? And there is nothing which I won't do to get my revenge. It's as simple as that.
How badly are you going to hurt this guy?
Not badly at all.
I want to know.
Okay, let me explain this.
If this guy is serious, I'm fucking curious.
I guarantee you he will not be serious.
How badly hurt will he be?
He will not have a broken limb or broken arm. He will not be put into intensive care or anything like that. He will probably get a couple of black eyes and a cracked rib or something like that. Nothing which you didn't suffer in rugby, okay? But he'll get scared, and that's what I want him to do. I want him to get scared. I want him to have no idea who's behind it, okay?
Gary, if I get
You will not, Boris. I swear to you. If you knew...
I'm not saying I just got this bloody number for you. Okay, Gary, I said I'll do it. Don't worry.
Boris, I really mean it. I love you.
The old Sith Academy school chum Boris was helping out was called Darius Guppy. And you may be thinking, why is this cunt named after a fish? But it's actually the other way round. I'm not even fucking joking. The fish is named after his grandfather, Lechmere Guppy, who not only discovered the eponymous river-dwelling creature, but also became the first man in the Western Hemisphere to achieve orgasm solely via the use of a dead Amazonian fish in his own prostate gland. What a pioneer. His maternal grandfather was Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Kazim Assar, who, to my knowledge, never made himself come by ramming a dead fish repeatedly into his anus like filthy old lecherous Lechmere did. But being a Grand Ayatollah, we can safely assume that he was one of the most racist, misogynistic, homophobic pieces of shit on the planet. Darius Guppy was also the best man at the wedding of Princess Diana's brother, just in case you needed any more proof of how ridiculously posh this fucking turd is. Guppy released the incriminating recording after he himself was arrested for an insurance scam. Dopey Darius hired some thieves to fake a robbery because he was hard up on cash, due to the fact that his retarded father fucked up the ancestral gravy train by losing the family fortune. Just fucking generations of losers in the Guppy family. Having served 5 years in a British jail, Darius now apparently lives in South Africa, and he also apparently hates Britain. Yeah, well, Britain fucking hates you too, you thieving cunt. All that unearned advantage in life and you still had to resort to common thievery because you're an article waste man. I really hope he fucking sees this and it gives him sleepless nights. I hope the thought of a commoner like me looking down on him and his useless fucking family, laughing at his shit life is enough to itch at his subconscious and leave him without a moment's peace. In case you're wondering, yes, he was also a member of the Bullingdon Club. Let's hope he got raped in prison. When he wasn't making up quotes, attempting to use violence to silence criticism of the super rich, or calling black people pickaninnies with watermelon smiles, Boris Johnson used his time as a journalist to leak the name of an MI6 spy, something he claims he did for a laugh. Leaking the name of a British spy and putting both his life and the lives of his employees at risk sounds like the kind of shit that would land you or I in jail. However, we weren't born with the same advantages as Boris. So in his case, he doesn't see the inside of a jail cell and instead gets promoted to a position where he's effectively in charge of overseeing MI6. Once again, because that's how meritocracy works. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Theresa May appoints King Herod as Children's Minister and Michael Gove as Secretary of State for twerking. In 1999, Boris moved over to The Spectator, where he promised the proprietor Conrad Black that if he was made editor, then he wouldn't stand for Parliament. Boris is a man of his word. His promise is an ironclad bond that cannot be broken by circumstance or ambition. His word is his honour, and his honour is all he has. Boris immediately stood for Parliament. It was 2001. Tony Blair was still seen as the saviour of Britain, and the Tories were barely halfway through their decade in the wilderness. The Tory leader Michael Howard recognised Boris's lack of ministerial experience, his magnetic attraction to falsehood and his ruthless personal ambition, and saw these characteristics as just the right ingredients to make a Tory frontbencher. So Boris was given the responsibility for education and the arts. Naturally, he was swiftly fired, yet again for being a fucking liar. You see, one of the most bizarre, stomach-churning and inexplicable facts in the story of Boris is that he is a relentless fuckmonger. Whether it's his blotchy white skin, his oafish flabby body, or the complete lack of rhythm and grace that causes his limbs to careen wildly about the place like a special needs classroom dance in the Macarena, women just find him irresistible. The man can draw gash like a forensic sketch artist. Maybe that mumbling, chubby tongue of his can do more than just murmur lies and insincere apologies. Maybe there's an underreported sexual fetish for flabby children of the corn dominating the minds of bland posh tarts from Islington. Either way, for reasons that will forever remain a mystery, Boris has somehow been able to destroy more parliamentary pussy than a Westminster outbreak of feline AIDS. And it was lying about his most recent affair in 2004 that caused Howard to shit-can him from the front bench.
Let me ask you about a barefaced lie. When you were in Michael Howard's team, you denied to him you were having an affair. It turned out you were. And he sacked you for that. Why did you lie to your party?
Well, I mean, again, with great respect. On that, I never had any conversation with Michael Howard about that matter. And, I don't
You did lie.
Well, I don't propose to go into all that again.
I don't blame you.
Boris would spend the next decade shaming himself by having a string of affairs, with his long-suffering wife getting cheated on more times than the gambling deck of a Mississippi steamboat. The ultimate humiliation for the shockingly still current Mrs. Johnson came in 2009 when it was revealed that Boris had fathered a daughter out of wedlock with one of the ropey-looking horse-faced Sloane Rangers that he's prone to take as a consort. Good to know that the politician now in charge of overseeing Britain's spy agencies is so easily corrupted by a musky whiff of middle-class Tory minge. The chance they will be able to withstand the advances of a svelte KGB seductress are lower than the odds that Boris's bastard will ever spend a Christmas day with her dad. After 2 truncated terms as Mayor of London, Boris recently got within a blonde butt pubes breadth of the top job in Britain, due to a joyous little schism the country decided to inflict upon itself for no good reason whatsoever. You see, we here in the sunny British Isles recently realised that we're not in fact one nation of people. We are actually 2 distinct ethnicities living side by side with different values, different cultures and different living standards. We even had a big vote so people could delineate which tribe they hailed from, so we could all focus more intently on the cavernous differences that separate us. We did this by handing everyone in the country a questionnaire to declare their allegiance, which had 2 options on it. Option A. Are you a thick-browed, hideously racist northern street urchin with greasy hair, Union Jack tattoos and spotty, pallid skin, who ekes out a blighted existence in a dismal council grief spire, ankle-deep in illegitimate children crawling across the cigarette burns in the carpet, eating a bowl of cereal for dinner because you spent all your benefits at the betting shop, blaming the self-inflicted desolation of your shit life on hard-working immigrants, as the obese, common-law broodmother languishing foully on the stained sofa beside you loudly cunt belches another state-dependent social parasite out into the universe to continue your toxic bloodline's intergenerational burden on the taxpayers, causing you to instinctively spit on the floor then head out to the pub while muttering about terrorists under your breath. If so, then please vote leave. Option B. Are you an achingly self-conscious, condescending Southern Media Studies graduate riding a fair trade bicycle made of hemp, who has no clue about how the world actually works because you live in a privileged middle-class bubble of expensive Colombian coffee shops and cheap Baltic cleaners, while harbouring an earth-shattering sense of self-righteousness fueled by the narcissistic belief that you alone have the moral fortitude to be anti-racist, causing you to patronisingly despise the uncultured working-class plebs of your own country, yet paradoxically welcome every Roma pickpocket or Serbian war criminal who smuggles himself across the channel with open arms, a live swan to eat and a fresh teenager to rape. Because you'll happily permit great democratic liberal Britain to become a theocratic Sharia police state so long as the country's supply of quinoa and baby chinos isn't affected, and most of all that no one accuses you of being racist. If so, then please vote Remain. Boris declared himself for the Leave camp relatively late in the day and instantly became their biggest, blondest figurehead. But he didn't actually want Britain to leave the EU. When it came to Brexit, all the polls predicted that Britain would remain, Unfortunately, the polling was done by Bretards, so it was Brucking Brong and Britain Brexited. What Boris wanted was to be the narrow loser in the battle. He wanted and sought the limelight of putting himself on the national stage in a leadership position, fighting on the side of patriotism and rule Britannia, nobly falling in battle for Queen and country. Having fought the good fight, Boris was to be magnanimous in defeat, bloodied and bruised but not beaten, ready to stand again for Queen and country and take on the burden of Prime Minister for a grateful, wounded nation. But the fat, useless cunt fucked it up! Utilising their incisive knowledge of global economic markets and geopolitics, the informed voters of Britain defied the polls, as they always seem to do these days, and voted to leave. In the process, defying the machinations of the interdimensional eldritch brain parasites that control the country's fate from the shadows as they hungrily leech hatred and spite off the Tory cabinet. You can just picture Boris and Cameron hatching this dastardly scheme, sitting in high-backed leather chairs one evening surrounded by cigar smoke and goblets of peasant blood, discussing whose turn it was to sit in the Prime Minister's chair and fuck the country like it was a dead pig's head. Now you'll never be Prime Minister, Boris. Fucking never, you fucking loser, because you're an incompetent fuck-up. Eat a dick, Boris. Eat an entire fucking banquet of cock. Have yourself a double helping. 4 courses of variously fried, baked and filleted man penis. Starting off with an appetizer of cold-cut cock slices and pan-fried foreskin before moving on to a crotch swamp soup. A brief break for a jellied semen palate cleanser. Then straight on to wolfing down your entree of glazed glands adorning a steaming chunk of uncut, 9-inch, medium-rare man meat in a sperm jus. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when Boris realised his personal political gamble to advance his own position had backfired spectacularly for both himself and the country he desperately wants to be leader of. But by the time his post-Brexit victory speech came around, he was a visibly broken man.
In voting to leave the EU, it is vital to stress that there is now no need for haste, and indeed, as the Prime Minister has just said, nothing will change over the short term, except that work will have to begin on how to give effect to the will of the people and to extricate this country from the supranational system. And as the Prime Minister has rightly said, there is no need to invoke Article 50.
This doesn't sound like a man proudly celebrating his beloved country's independence. Where are the fireworks and pyrotechnics? Where's the fucking joy? Boris should be living the dream right now. He's just emancipated the country he loves from the shackles of slavery. The people of downtrodden Britain are finally walking up the steps out of their Belgian rape dungeon, blinking painfully in the bright, natural light as the sun's disinfectant washes away the shame and misery of our 40 years of humiliating servitude. Right? So why the fuck does Boris look like a hitherto eager cuckold who is instantly regretting the decision to have that Italian stallion plough his wife? As her screams get louder and louder and his planned sexual ecstasy is repressed by an overwhelming feeling of regret and inferiority. You should have kept this all to a filthy wank fantasy, Boris. These thoughts should have remained locked away shamefully in your subconscious and only brought to the surface when it was time for you to pull your coiled little piglet penis. Your mind might be sick and twisted, but you don't have the heart to be a true fucking real-life degenerate. You Oda one, Bojo, especially considering you're seemingly surrounded by a menagerie of minor ministerial tarts yearning to have you come in them. People have been known to claim that Boris's blustery exterior is in fact a facade, a genius deception by a master political manoeuvrer. They posit that Boris is in fact a shrewd intellect and his clownish buffoonery is a tactic to lower your guard and humbly charm you into acquiescence. But I think that's bullfuck. The lie isn't the bumbling exterior, the lie is that he could turn it off if he wanted to. Boris is an ungainly, graceless shit being. He moves like a human skin sack stuffed with barely sapient jellyfish. And not even the cool jellyfish either, the shitty jellyfish. Translucent grey blobs whose only purpose in life is to provide a nasty sting to anyone who gets too close, and to remind us all of the utter foulness of the slimy, spineless denizens of the deep blue. The dishevelled prince of dickheads, a wolf in clown's clothing, Boris Johnson is now in a position to actually do some serious damage. His next fuck-up is gonna be a big one, so let us never forget that this joke of a man is a top cunt.